Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Edward Joseph, and let's talk live. Edward Joseph, let's talk live. All right, let's talk. Well, today, peoples, has been such an interesting day. I'm here, I am live, and I am going to talk about some things, peoples. Peoples, Edward Joseph, let's talk live. You guys come on in. You guys come on in. You guys come on in, for there's so much to talk about, peoples. You guys come on in. Peoples, I am here and I am back. And I am back just to talk about some things that I have been seeing on YouTube and on Facebook and on all of these different platforms. I just wanted to talk to you today. I'm on my way home, but I wanted to sit and talk with you today, peoples. And I am very, very disturbed with a lot of the things that I am seeing in the news. I think there is an assault upon Black men. There is a massive assault on Black men, peoples. Black men. There's an assault on Black men. And the thing is, peoples, is that these Black men are getting themselves in a lot of trouble, messing with these white women. Now, I mean, everybody has their preference, and everybody, has the right to choose. Everybody has the right to choose who they want to. Wait a minute, what? What? Wait, what? Wait 1 minute, peoples. Wait 1 minute. No, peoples. They say that the former Memphis officers are not found guilty on all charges in state trial related to Tyree Nichols. Oh my goodness, peoples. Oh my goodness, peoples. No. They found Tyree Nichols officers not guilty. I can't believe it, peoples. What the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? No, I can't believe this, peoples. The officers has been found not guilty on all of the charges. Not guilty. So what they're saying is that the police has the ability to go ahead and push up a black boy who hadn't had no gun, no weapons whatsoever, and all he was doing was just trying to get home. They beat his ass to death, and then they find not guilty because they were going with the protocol as to what has been for the police for the training. Are you kidding me, peoples? This is laughable. Are you really kidding me? Did you see Tyree Nichols? That boy was beat to a pulp, all because he wasn't complying with the officers and what they wanted him to do. Former Memphis officers not guilty of all charges in state trial related to Tyree Nichols. I cannot believe this shit. I absolutely, unequivocally undeniably cannot believe this shit, peoples. We got to talk about this. I got to play this video back. I said I have to play this video back when I get home. This is going to be my topic when I get home, peoples. I cannot believe this. So you mean to tell me that these officers can go and they can destroy black people's lives and get away with it? I absolutely cannot believe this. I absolutely cannot believe this. It says acquittal on Tyre Nichols state murder trial, major protests at Columbia. I'm sure it's major protest. Tear that shit down. Tear the goddamn city down. Tear the goddamn state down. Tear those goddamn jurors who found these people not guilty. Go over there and fuck up their houses, their cars, everything. Burn that shit down. So, black on black crime. So in the Aubrey whatever the guy's name is, you know, Ahmaud Arbery case, the white people who shot him, they got life in prison. And so you got all of these 5 black officers who literally beat this boy down to a pulp, and they got off. Well, guess what, peoples? Diddy is going to be off. Diddy, who played with the girl's titty, Diddy, who played with the woman's titty, is going to get off. He's going to get off, peoples. I mean, if these guys can get off, and you clearly see the evidence on video, Diddy is getting off. It ain't no question about that, peoples. Diddy had beat Cassie's ass, but he's going to get off. Because these officers had beat Tyre Nichols down to a pulp, and they got off. So Diddy's ass is going to get off, peoples. I'm sorry to say. So you guys get mad as much as you want to. Diddy is getting off. Diddy played with Cassie's titty, and he is getting off. Ain't no question about it. He's getting off, peoples. If you guys think that Diddy is going to get convicted, that man is not getting convicted. He is getting off. I have sat up here and I have looked at this madness. I have listened to this madness all day long and stuff. They're talking about they're talking about Smokey Robinson had essayed some carnitas. You know, the carnitas, the Mexican girls. 87-year-old man is raping a carnita? Really, peoples? Smokey can't even get, he can smoke himself, but he still ain't getting up. He can take all the Viagra that he wants and he still can't get up. And even if he takes it, it's a good chance, people, that he'll die. You know, because his heart rate will, you know, be his heart rate and blood pressure will go up and stuff. I mean, that is the type of drug that makes you want to perform, but at 87, you think he's going to be performing? Really, peoples? Wow, this is crazy. What have the world has come to, peoples? I said, what have the world has come to? This is absolutely crazy. So the officers get off. I wonder what did they do in the federal trial? I thought that they got convicted. So they got acquitted in the state trial, but they got convicted in the federal trial. The family got millions of dollars and things. And how much time did they get in the federal trial? I gotta go back and I gotta go research that, people. I don't know how much time that they got, but they got acquitted. So you mean to tell me that these officers do whatever the hell that they please, and there is no accountability whatsoever, and that Tyree had brought this upon himself? I can't believe it, people. I really can't believe it. So basically what you're telling me is that videos really don't make a difference because it's all in perception. It's all in perception. Now, if you got a good enough attorney, they will talk the socks off you and make you believe that nothing happened in that video, and make you believe that Tyree had brought all of this stuff upon himself. One, he ran from the scene. Two, he wouldn't comply with their orders. So they beat this boy down to a pulp, and yet they get acquitted on all charges of murder. I'm just flabbergasted, people. So this is crazy to me. This is absolutely nuts. I wish I was home because I'll be playing this video now and I'll be talking about this, but I'm not at home right now. I'm on my way home, but I'm not home right now. These officers got acquitted. So if these officers can go ahead and beat this boy down to a pulp, then Diddy is getting off. Did you hear what I said? I said Diddy is getting off. Ain't no way that they're going to convict this black man of kicking Cassie's ass. It ain't no way. It ain't no way that they're going to convict Diddy for kicking Cassie's ass. And then one of the people who was supposed to come and testify, they ain't testifying. So you think that they're going to put Diddy in for life all because of Cassie? Really, peoples? It ain't happening. Diddy is going home. I'm telling you. Listen to what I'm saying, peoples. Diddy is on his way home. All of these Hollywood stars and stuff, they can come and testify, but see, the thing is, those suckers is guilty of sin because they were there at his party. And whatever he was doing, they were doing as well. So don't go and try to blame it all on Diddy. You know, you the sucker, you did it. Showing up, you did. You did it. You was a part of it. Don't sit up there and try to blame this man for everything and stuff. You are the sucker. You're the one who did it. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So they're going to have all of these Hollywood stars come and testify up against this man, trying to make it seem like, you know, he's the bad guy. He did all of this stuff himself. So how could this be a racketeering case when you need at least 2 people or more for a racketeering charge, but yet he was the only one who was charged? Don't be stupid, people. It's coming down. It's coming down. I'm telling you, it's coming down. A lot of these Hollywood people who's testifying now, there's going to be people who's going to be testifying against them because they were culprits in all of this stuff. Sure enough, they were. They were culprits in all of this stuff, peoples. Yes, indeed, they were culprits. They did just what Diddy was doing. He didn't do all of this stuff by himself. He didn't book all of these rooms and have all of these freak offs by himself. It was all of those other Hollywood stars that was there. Remember, ain't no party like a Diddy party. Yeah, it ain't no party like a Diddy party. But see, suckers, you was there. You were there. And you were doing all of that madness. It's like everybody was doing that madness out there. You were there. And see, they tried to give Diddy a deal and say, oh, well, if you spill the beans upon these people, well, then we're going to let you out. Well, he's going to do some time either way, no matter what, He's going to do some time, but how much time? I don't know. Maybe a year or two, but no more than that. They just had to teach him a lesson. They just going to give him a slap on the wrist and tell him, don't be a bad boy no more. Don't do what you've been doing because we're watching you. I don't believe Diddy is going to prison, peoples. I don't believe that at all. Not from what I've seen today. For these officers to be acquitted on all charges, not even assault and battery, they were just doing their job. So now the people that's on the jury, I just imagine. I hope that one of their family members get assaulted in what's going to happen out there. I hope that they're going to get assaulted. I hope that. I hope it. I know that's bad. I know I shouldn't be saying that. That's bad, huh? But I want to teach those suckers a lesson because this woman had lost her child. And they had the gall to sit up here and find these people not guilty. And they sat for 7 days looking at this video, listening to all of these experts and everything and stuff, and still you can't believe your eyes? How could you find the people not guilty? How? Help me to make that make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. How could you find the people not guilty? It's incredible to me, people. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, man, it's just, well, I don't even have the words. I really don't. I don't even have the words, people. I don't have the words. I am so angry right now. But I hope all of those people in that city, in that state, in that Providence, in that town, in that area, I hope they destroy everything. I hope it becomes another George Floyd. Or what's that guy's name? Who had got assaulted by those police in Los Angeles. I hope it becomes another one of those things. Destroy everything around. Don't give a H about anything. Go ahead and just destroy everything. Any and everything that you see, go ahead and destroy it. You know? Go, do your thing. Get mad, destroy everything. Take your anger out and your frustrations out upon everybody. No, but I shouldn't be saying that, huh? I mean, it doesn't matter what I say. The people's going to do what they're going to do anyway. You know, I can sit here and encourage the people all day long and stuff, but they ain't going to listen to me. They're going to do what they're going to do anyway. And if that's what they want to do, well, then, you have my blessing. But, man, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I can't believe that for the likes of me people. So I'm almost home. We're going to talk about this. I am almost home. We got to definitely talk about this because, man, I just can't believe it. Really can't. I can't believe it, people. Cannot believe it whatsoever. What in the world was these people looking at? What were they looking at? It is an assault on the black man. Now you got that guy Shannon Sharp who was messing with those white girls and stuff. Now he has a lawsuit up against him. He lost $100 million all messing with a white woman. And the lady had already told him, you need to go ahead and get you a chocolate, get you a Hershey bar, because these vanilla bars, they're going to get you in trouble. Sure enough, he didn't want to listen. Get you a sake to me, get you a cornbread woman. No, he didn't want to listen. He had to go get him a vanilla shake, a milkshake, and see, that's his preference, peoples. He loves those milkshakes, and those milkshakes is shaking him up right now. Lost $100 million off an allegation. That's all it takes, peoples. One little allegation, and now your whole career, everything is destroyed. It's destroyed. But you know what I say? I say, for some of these black men, good for them. That's good for them, because the thing is that, you know they brought that stuff upon themselves. Didn't nobody do it but them. They brought it upon themselves. They should have been watching themselves a little bit more closely. But it's not like the people didn't warn them. They got warned and they didn't want to listen, so they went on and did what they wanted to do anyway, and that's what they wanted to do. Now, I don't agree that all of these black men SA a lot of these people. I don't believe that whatsoever. I don't care how many allegations is levied and stuff. I don't believe that whatsoever. Because that's the easiest thing to plan upon a black man, and it's so hard to disprove, because you got a crying ass bitch that is going to sit up here and whine and say, "Oh, I've been SA'd." No, you've been loving that Mandingo warrior, that Mandingo and Dinky. You've been loving that, and so now, because times is hard, you can't get no groceries on the table and stuff. Now you want to resort to saying, oh, well, he essayed me. He did this, he did that. That man ain't did nothing but just hit you real good with it. He hit you real good with it. And you got mesmerized. You got, and so now you want more. You know, he's already got what he got and stuff. And so now he's moving on. He's going to see other people and things. And now you don't feel too hot because he's not looking at you the way that he did. He wants to have an open relationship. He wants to explore it. He wants to do something different, something new, and you can't take it. So, since you can't have him, then nobody can. Now you're going to destroy his life. I mean, you waited how many years? 10, 15, some 20 years. Then you want to go and make all of these allegations of what he's supposed to have done to you. You got text messages talking about, well, put me in some bullwhips and chains and stuff. Well, that's in your message. That's what you said. You said that. He didn't. You did that. And so now, you know, you found out that this man is going to be making millions of dollars. And so now you want a piece of it. He said, "Nah, I'm just only going to give you 10 million." You said, "No, that's not enough. I need more than that." He said, "Nah, nah, I'm not going to do that." So now you want to come with all of this salacious madness, talk all of this crazy crap, and make this man lose $100 million, all because you said that he essayed you. But no other time did you ever complain. I mean, while he was poking you, you didn't complain then. You didn't complain while he was poking you. You didn't complain when you was getting it every which way but loose. But now, because he wants to move on, now you feel some type of way. Now you got a vendetta against him. Now, if you can't have him, nobody can. So now you go foul. And you're going to air out all of that business and stuff that you guys did. You wasn't nothing but a prostitute in the first place. That's how he treated you. You know, he paid you for SCX. That's all he looked at you as. You wanted the baby. He didn't want no baby. He already had kids. He didn't want to be tied down and committed to you. And so because he said no children, now you put a spin up on it. Now he is supposed to be essaying you. Really? Men, let me tell you something. You better be very careful who you date nowadays. You better be very careful who you date nowadays because these women are off hinge. It ain't back in the day to where you can go and spit your game up against a woman and thinking that y'all going to be together forever and a day. No, no. You gotta be prayed up to stay up. You better make darn sure that you got a good relationship with Christ because you get into a relationship now and you got money Nah, nah. See, this is why I've already broadcast that I'm going to be getting a settlement, right? And so I'm not looking for no relationship. I ain't trying to get no piece of nothing. I ain't doing nothing. It's just gonna be me and my kids. That's it. Me and my kids. I ain't trying to share nothing. I ain't trying to do nothing. I'm just gonna sit back, relax, and enjoy and have some fun. I'm coming cross country. I'm flying down to Virginia. And then from Virginia, I'm going to make my way back to California. And so in driving back, I'm gonna be hooking up with some of you YouTubers. I'll be in Chicago. I'm definitely going to the Crown Plaza. I'm going to the Marriott, and I'm going to the DoubleTree. And I'm going to take the video footage myself. I sure am. I'm going to the Caddy Shack. I'm going to take the video footage myself. See it for myself. Record it for myself. I'm going to walk the halls of that establishment for myself. And then I'm going to see exactly how long it's going to take to get from one end to the other end. I'm going to go down to the lower level. I'm going to take pictures of the Caddy Shack. I'm going to go and see if I can get into a few of these unsecured places. Proclaim that I'm lost, but still take the video footage. Yep. I'm going to spend one day in Chicago. I'm going to go to the gravesite of Kenneka Jenkins. And you know, and then I'm going to go to Resurrection Hospital, and I'm going to walk around there. I'm going to take videos and pictures. Where they're supposed to have taken Kenneka. Then I'm going to drive over by the Cook County Medical Examiner's office, so I can see how long of a drive it is from Crown Plaza to the Cook County Medical Examiner's office. So I already got my game plan mapped out as to what I'm going to do, and as to the things I want to see and stuff. But I got to see it for myself. I'm not going to rely upon some other people's videos and things like that. I got to see it for myself. I got to have a feel for myself. I'm going to videotape all on the outside of the Crown Plaza and the surrounding areas. I got to see it for myself, peoples. So I won't be satisfied until I see it for myself. So that's my endeavors. And I'm going to be live. So as I'm videotaping it, you guys will see it live. I'm going to go to the movie theater. I'm going to catch a movie. I'm going to retrace the steps that these people have taken based upon what the video footage says. And then I'll show you unequivocally, undeniably, what's in the back of the Crown Plaza by the dock area. I'm sure I won't be able to go to the kitchen from where she walked in. I'm sure that they have that blocked off, or that's probably in use right now or something. I don't know. They probably changed it around. But I gotta go to the Crown Plaza myself and see it for myself. See what's going on. Well, peoples, I'm almost home. It was about right here. I'm gonna have to taper down because I got stalkers and things, and people be trolling and all like that. So you know, I'll be back on. Be back on in about 10 minutes, and we're gonna do a part two to this, and we're gonna talk about it. But right now, I gotta make a couple of runs real quick before I go home. Get something to eat. Get a salad or something. I'm gonna put this tri-tip steak and some garlic butter. So I'm gonna cook that when I get home, and I'm gonna have me some garlic bread and gonna cook me a sweet potato and have me a salad to go with it. I'll probably make cook some rice, some yellow rice. So, but that's what I'm gonna cook. But when I get home, peoples, we're gonna talk about it because man, I just can't believe literally what I have seen. All right, peoples, I'll be home and I'll be back live, and we're gonna do a part two to this, and we're gonna talk about it. Hello, Mello. How are you, my friend? It is a blessing to see you on today. This phone holder that I have to hold my phone and stuff, it doesn't allow me to see the chat. So you guys come in and things, and if you chimed out or something, I can't see it. I can see it now because I'm holding my phone, but I couldn't see it then. But I'll be home, peoples, and we're going to get back in and we're going to talk about it. There's so much to talk about tonight, so much to cover. And yeah, got to cover it, peoples. Really got to get into this thing and talk about it and try to make some sense of some things if we can. But I'm definitely going to have to play back the live that these attorneys had did and stuff to see what they said to get these police officers acquitted. And I want to see the makeup of the jury because, I'm just not understanding this, people. I don't see how they could not be convicted of murder or not convicted of anything, not even simple assault or battery or whatever. But to be acquitted on all charges. Well, I tell you one thing: those attorneys that represent them, well, the next clients they're going to be high profile people that they're only going to go with and stuff because they just make themselves multimillionaires now. Because everybody in Hollywood and even Diddy will be seeking him out to be his attorney because for the evidence that we clearly see is not what we see based upon what they say. And that's a sad day, peoples, when these cops can get away with murder and they won't be held accountable for the very actions that they did. That's a sad day in America, peoples. I'm almost home. I'm gonna stay live. I'm gonna stay live. And when I get in, I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna play back that video, so we can see for ourselves exactly what happened. Because I'm not understanding this, people. So I'm really not. I'm angry, frustrated, and so I had to come live and I had to talk about it. I just knew within my hearts of heart that these people was going to get convicted. But that's not the case, peoples. So then my question is simply this. What is it that these 6 or 12 people of a jury seen or heard that you did not see upon that video? That's the question, people. That is the question. How in God's name did these officers get away with murder? Because that was plainly murder. It is no way whatsoever that these officers should have gotten acquitted on all charges. And it ain't nothing that Tyree had did to get such a a brutal punishment like that. It ain't nothing this man did. I don't agree with the verdict, peoples. I really don't. And if I was out there, I'll be protesting too. Because this is an atrocity to the judicial system. But that's the way that it works, peoples. They got acquitted. They got acquitted. And so the jury of their peers said that they are not guilty. They're not guilty. And so no matter how we may want to look at it, I mean, it is what it is. They are not guilty. And that's what they said. The jury has spoken, and that's what it is, regardless of whether we like it or not. They are not guilty peoples. That's what the jury said. And so that's what it is. We have to live with it. I don't like it, but we have to live with it, people. They're not guilty. That's what the jury said. All right. I'm at home, people. Gonna walk in here, turn on this computer, and let's watch this video together, peoples. Let's see what in the world is going on, peoples. Let's see what in the world is going on. Oh my God, peoples. All right, you guys got to give me a moment. Okay. Uh, shut up. Disarms system in 20 seconds. System is now disarmed. All right, people, so let me go ahead and turn on this computer. Get this thing hooked up here. Let's get on the computer. And, let's get into the feed of video. Okay, let me put this up. Really, really frustrated right about now. But it ain't nothing I can do. It is what it is. Is what it is. Right. And let me. Oops. All right, so I'm going to get off my phone and get on live on my computer. So you guys, give me a moment. All right, people, so I am back. I am on my computer now. Okay, so let me see here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me share my screen, people. All right, so that's cool. Let me share my screen. Now let's go to let's go to YouTube and let's check this out here, people. Go back to my channel. Let's check this out here. See what's happening here. All right, so let's see here. Okay, let's go home. Let's see what the latest news is right now. There it is, right there. Tyree Nichols case, ex-officers found not guilty in Tyree Nichols' death 3 hours ago. Now I don't want to play the whole. I don't want to play the whole. I don't want to play the whole live because that's 2 hours. I just want to play just a snippet of it. I want to play the highlights. Let me see. I think I got the. Boy, that Fonnie Willis, man, that woman, shit, she is costing that that city millions. They broke the law again, man. Looky here, and then I want to talk about this one too, the Rodney Hinton's case. But okay, so I don't see the Tyree Nichols case. All right, so here, let me go to the news right here and see what's going on here. You would think that would have been headline news, but it's not. All right, so okay, live jury reach verdict in Xbox since. Okay, no, that's not it. Boy, you would think that Tyree Nichols thing would be really something, but we're gonna get into that one. And where's the Tyree Nichols? They don't really have that showing, so I guess they don't really care because it's not dominating the headlines. So let me see here. What's going on? Tyree Nichols case update. All right. So Tyree Nichols' death, former Memphis police officers acquitted. Just can't believe that shit. I cannot believe that, peoples. I can't believe it. All right. Let me see. Prosecutor gives rebuttal arguments in trial, accident, death. All right. So, and see key issues, jury considering trial, X charges, and Tyree Nichols case. All right. So, let me see. Tyree Nichols closing arguments and okay, that.
as in found not guilty. I just can't believe it. Shit. I cannot believe it for the likes of me, peoples. All right, let's listen to this right here.
Back here at home, a jury has acquitted 3 former Memphis police officers involved in the beating death of Tyree Nichols. Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith found not guilty on all state charges, which include second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, and more. The jury taking more than 8.5 hours across 2 days to come to this decision. As you remember, Nichols was beaten to death by the police officers back in 2023. The 3 defendants still face the possibility of years in prison after convicted of federal charges last year. Let's bring in our legal analyst, Terry Austin, who's been very busy on a number of cases for us today. Terry, I guess, first of all, does this verdict surprise you?
Okay, before I get into that, people's, I'm glad that they were convicted. I'm glad that they were convicted. I'm glad that they were convicted. I'm glad that they were convicted on the federal charges. So yes, they are going to face some jail time. That's good. So give those suckers the max. I knew that they were convicted upon something. Yeah, they were convicted upon something, people. So I'm glad that they were convicted on the federal charges, but the state charges, shit, man, I just can't. I just can't, peoples. I can't. I absolutely can't. This is an atrocity, but at least their asses is going to get some jail time. Let me go ahead and share my screen a different way, people, so I can get in here and cook something. So I'm gonna share that. I'm gonna share it like that. So then that way I can be able to see and still do what I need to do. Hello, Honesty. How are you, ma'am? It is a blessing to see you on today. Honesty has says, hello, Edward. Honestly, I am pissed right now. I am literally pissed right now. I cannot believe for the likes of me that these guys had got acquitted on the state charges, but the federal charges, they got convicted. So yes, they're going to spend some years behind bars. Years. But how in the hell did they get, how in the hell did they get acquitted in this? It's crazy, people. This is absolutely nuts. But let's listen to this. I'm just trying. I just got home. So I gotta put something on so I can play. Because I gotta cook something real quick, people. So I'm hungry. I just walked in. Just walked in and converted from the live, me driving home. Now I'm live on my computer, and so now I've got a little bit more to my disposal. I can show some more videos and stuff, but we're gonna get into this, peoples. But I got to get in here. I got to take off my shoes and stuff, and I got to warm up the plate and cook me this tri-tip and a candy yam real quick. So we're gonna watch this. We'll probably just watch the closing arguments and stuff. Okay, let me see. Once you have the screenshot so we can skip further. Okay. All right, well, I'm fit to send you that too. So I got monetized, peoples, and they haven't sent me my check because they said that I needed to turn in my tax forms. So I'm fit to send them the screenshots so I can go ahead and get my my money. they said that they need one more thing. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of all that. But right now, let's take a look at this and let's see what's happening here, peoples, because like I say, I'm pissed. I am absolutely pissed. I don't know about you, but I am pissed. But let's listen to this, peoples. Let's go.
Actually, Kira, I'm shocked by this verdict. There's a video of the police officers beating Tyre Nichols to death, and it is a gruesome video. It's very clear. They pull him out of the car, they pepper spray him, they beat him, they leave him, they don't give him any medical attention. I'm really surprised that the verdict was the way it was. It's not something that you normally see when you have evidence that's this clear. And on all counts for all three individuals, it was not guilty, even for lesser included counts. So I am a little surprised that it came back a full acquittal for all three of them.
And all three of the men still face prison after being convicted on the federal charges. How do you see this all playing out?
Well, I do think now that the state case has concluded, they'll go back to the federal case. They'll do the sentencing. Like you said, they have already been convicted. I don't know if this acquittal in state court will have any effect on the sentencing. I do know that there has been an outcry already. The verdict just came down. Ben Crump, one of the largest civil rights attorneys in the United States, probably in the world at this point in time, has already made statements that this is shocking, that when you have this much evidence, you should not come back with a full acquittal. And so I do think that there will probably be some public outcry about the verdict. It should not technically affect the sentencing, but we do know that all of what's happening in the world does sometimes affect what happens in the courtroom. So we'll see what happens when we get that sentencing. But now that this state court is concluded, they're going to go forward in that regard.
Joined now by ABC 24 anchor Pepper Baker, who has been joining us just now in the studio to help get us some extra reaction on exactly what's going on.
I don't even want to hear I don't even want to hear the pastor. I really don't. I said I don't want to hear the pastor, peoples. I really don't. I really don't. Let's sit here and we're going to listen to the closing arguments, because this will give me enough time to sit down and eat something. Let's listen to the closing arguments, peoples, and see if this woman really took it home. Did she take it home, peoples? Did she do her job? Did she? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look.
Whose word we're supposed to.
Whew, man, I'm so pissed.
And so any instructions that you all have come from the court. All right. Before we begin with the last portion, as we talked about at the very beginning, because the state has the burden in this case, now that the defense has finished their closing arguments, the state will have an opportunity to present a rebuttal argument.
This heifer better take it home. I'm going to personally go down there and see her myself.
All right. Proceed.
Look.
Two soccer ball kicks to the head. 3 baton strikes. 5 haymakers. And 2 more kicks. That's not about making an arrest. That's not about getting someone in handcuffs. That's not. That was about Tyre Nichols making these officers run. These officers pepper spraying themselves. Because at Ross and Castlegate, Tyre Nichols was not resisting. He was trying to survive. You all are able to see that in the video. talking about the choices of Tyre Nichols. We're talking about the choices of Emmett Martin. Well, all three of those men over there made choices and could have made choices that night. Should have made choices that night. They could have chose to stop it. They could have made a choice to stop it. In fact, they had a duty to intervene. They had a duty to stop it. And not one of them did. So the defense attorneys, during the course of this trial, the last 2 days, have said a lot. They've said a whole lot. They've thrown a lot of smoke and mirrors, but smoke and mirrors do not equal reasonable doubt. And I told my boss, one of my big boss, that I wasn't going to talk about their smoke and mirrors. I was going to focus on something different. But some of the smoke does need to be cleared up, and some of the mirrors do need to be broken. And like Mr. Zumot, I'm not going to talk about all the smoke and mirrors because it was a lot. But I am going to hit the highlights, okay? So first, before we can get into anything, we got to talk about this idea of a tainted investigation. We've heard that for days now. They said TBI and the district attorney's office and the FBI, the Department of Justice, everybody was colluding and working against these men. They will have you believe because TBI got involved and my big boss somehow was driving Hickory Hill, January 7, 2023, saw these officers doing what they were doing and saying, hey, this is gonna be a great news story. That's not what happened. In fact, look at the policy, Memphis Police Department's policy. You'll have it with you. In cases where individuals are in custody and are critical or dead at the hands of law enforcement, TBI has to get involved. But that can only come at the request of the district attorney. So who knows about what happened to Tyre Nichols back on January 7, 2023? TBI doesn't. My boss not out riding. Miss Wells has collapsed on her son in the hospital. She's not calling my boss to make the call. Who knows? Who else is a part of this conspiracy? MPD? Is it reasonable to also believe that MPD made the call to my boss? Hey, we got somebody critical at the hospital doing an arrest. TBI comes and clears out their hospital scene. Because that's what Ms. Wells said happened. For those officers who rode in the ambulance with Tyre Nichols, who were still at the hospital at the time he was there, cleared out. And then a tainted investigation. But when TBI gets involved, give them what they want to believe is their best piece of evidence. These mushrooms and these credit cards that somehow justify Tyre Nichols being beat to death. Mushrooms that were found in the trunk of his car. Mushrooms that you heard Dr. Ross say weren't even in his system. What did he have in his system? Alcohol, well below the legal limit. I think it was 0.4 grams, I don't know, 0.04. But a tainted investigation. Smoke and mirrors. Let's talk about what this is not. Because we told you back in Chattanooga, this is not about a group of men who met on Flipper Street and said we're gonna go out and kill somebody tonight. This is not even about those men meeting up at Ross and Raines or Ross and Castlegate saying, hey, we're gonna agree to do something to Tyree Nichols. If there were the case, it would be a what? First degree murder case. Nobody is saying it. Would it also be a conspiracy case? Nobody is saying it. But what it is a second degree murder case, and it's a criminal responsibility case. And we're gonna talk about what that means. And then the gun. Tyree Nichols grabbed Martin's gun, put his hand on his gun. You heard from Mills, later said it might have been my gun belt. All of it requires us to take the word of Emmett Martin. But we know, because we see on the video, 1 minute it's a traffic stop, 1 minute Tyree Nichols got out and took a swing, got on 1 minute. That's whose word we're supposed to take. You rewind the video of the traffic stop back. You tell me if you hear about a gun, but beyond that, if there was a gun, and if they believe that he grabbed the gun, which would justify and increase this situation, as the expert said, if that was the case, who was at Ross and Rains when that happened? We got Hempfield, we got Martin, and we got Haley. But guess what? Nobody got on their radio and put out, hey, yeah, pepper spray deployed. Yeah, Taser deployed. Yeah, he's running this way or that way. Nobody got on their radio and said, hey, he went for an officer's gun too. I mean, wouldn't that be information that you want your fellow officers to know? If they're pursuing somebody who you believe is so dangerous, who you believe just overpowered, what was it, 700 some pounds of men? Wouldn't that be information you will want somebody to know if it was true? Smoke and mirrors. This notion, and I want to be clear what this is not. This is not an indictment against all police officers. This is not an indictment against police officers who get out, who do their jobs, who put their lives on the line. Nobody is saying it's not a dangerous job. Nobody is saying that it doesn't take bravery. No one is saying it. But because it's a dangerous job, does not mean that you are immune from making criminal decisions. So yes, we can talk about the language police officers use, the actions police officers use. Me and Mr. Hagman can agree to disagree about the verbal judo. And they snatching them out the car. I'm gonna blow your ass off. When they have them on the ground, I'm about to break your shit. We can agree to disagree. Okay, tough job, rough language, cool. Nobody is being charged for this. They have him on the ground. He's hurt now. Guns drawn. You about to get your ass blowed off. He's hurt. We about to break your shit. He's hurt. Pepper spray him. He's hurt. He, being Tyree Nichols, has hurt. Tase him. Well, what's next? What's next? Wait on him to pull the gun back out. He takes off running. Tyree Nichols should have just stayed there. He shouldn't have resisted. He shouldn't have ran. Okay, but he did. He ran. And at Ross and Castlegate, he's tackled to the ground by Tadarius Beans. Nobody is saying Tadarius Beans should not have tackled Tyree Nichols. He's not being charged for this. None of these officers are being charged for this. But as Tyree Nichols is on that ground, and Emmett Martin delivers that first kick to Tyree Nichols' head, it's a flag on the play. Whoa, 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 wait a minute. That kick to the head, look at police policy, Memphis Police Policy. It's considered deadly force. So when you apply this deadly force to this man who's on the ground, he now becomes a victim. He now becomes a victim. But nobody intervenes. There's more kicks. There's more kicks. There's more punches. There's more punches. There's more kicks. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. I believe it was Mr. Perry who talked about split-second decisions. A split-second decision will be somebody running through a red light, making a decision, should I beat it, should I not, should I beat it, should I not, trying to beat it and having a car accident. That wasn't this case.
Now, let me interject on here for one moment, people. Let me interject here for one moment. Now, I'm sitting back and I'm listening to this and this presentation that she's giving and stuff. There's no elevation in her voice. All it is just a black woman sitting up here complaining about this, that, and the other. There is nothing, absolutely nothing. You know? And I'm kind of like tuning out myself because it's so dull and dry. You know, she didn't go back and she didn't refer so much to the evidence that is at play here. All it is just a ranting and raving and things. I mean, why did they have this dull girl get up here and do a rebuttal? And all she's doing is just she is just so cut and dry. Woman, you're putting me to sleep. I'm kind of like, where's the passion? Where's the anger? Where's the frustration? You know? Man, if I was to sit up here and do a rebuttal, these Negroes would have gotten convicted on my first word. That's all I had to do is just speak and just say guilty. And because these people heard my voice, they heard Edward Joseph and what Edward Joseph had said. That would have been all I had to do, peoples. Guilty. Guilty. And just that alone. Oh my God, y'all hold on for a moment.
Tyre Nichols was beaten for 2 minutes. From first kick to last kick. For 2 minutes. And in between that time, each one of these officers sitting in this courtroom could have done something. Each one of these officers could have said something. This was not a split-second decision. Smoke and mirrors. And maybe the best smoke and mirror of it all is this whole notion that these officers were just trying to handcuff Tyre Nichols. Tyre Nichols could have just put his hand behind his back, say, you got me, you got me. But when they first approached Tyre Nichols, what did he say? All right, all right, all right, threw his hands up. So how do we even get on the ground? But even when we're on the ground, you know that character witness who came and said and testified on behalf of Mr. Smith, who talked about the dangerous arrest he made with Mr. Smith, who talked about the person who had been pepper sprayed. He was on one side, another officer was on another side, and guess what Smith did? He grabbed his feet, and they were able to get him handcuffed. Guess what they could have did when Tyre Nichols was on that ground? They could have grabbed his feet and been able to get him handcuffed. But nobody said grab his feet. Nobody said, hey, it's 4 of us out here. You get one arm, I get one arm. Somebody stand on his feet. And to the very end, until the actual patrolman came in and grabbed his feet. That's how he got handcuffed. It wasn't because Haley and Martin kicked him again. It was because somebody out there had the sense to say that. And Justice Smith knew how to because he had done it before. This wasn't about trying to get him handcuffed. And we know that because we know witnesses have testified, defense counsels have gotten up here and said it repeatedly. When the handcuffs go on, the fighting stops. When the handcuffs go on, can't do anything, can't hit them. Well, isn't it reasonable to believe that these officers weren't trying to get those handcuffs on him because they wanted to punish him for running, because they wanted to punch him because they pepper sprayed themselves? Tyre Nichols didn't grab a pepper spray can. They're upset, they're angry. They don't want those handcuffs on. It's an illusion for the body cameras that are still on, the ones that people haven't took and snatched off, the ones that haven't fallen off during the scuffle. They're asking for his hands, but they have his hands. They're asking for his hands as 2 officers have his hands and he's being punched. This is not about trying to handcuff Tyre Nichols. But that's what they want you to believe is my guy was holding him, Tadarius Bean and Justice Smith just holding him, trying to get him handcuffs. They didn't have any intent to hold him so he can get punched in the head. Well, guess what that still sounds like, defense attorneys? That's still minimal facilitation of second-degree murder. That's not what this is. It's not just facilitation of second-degree murder, not just them holding his hands for him to get handcuffed. This is second-degree murder. And so how do we get to that? Because all week, up until now, all week what it's come down to is that those men could see what Emmett Martin was doing, could hear what Emmett Martin was doing, if they were criminally responsible for Emmett Martin's actions. And all week, everybody has been trying to stay away from what Emmett Martin did, right? I think Mr. Leffler got up today and he read from you page 47 of your jury instructions that said, considering multiple defendants, you should give separate consideration to each defendant. Absolutely. Absolutely you should. But that goes along with criminal responsibility. You reconcile that with criminal responsibility because on page 58, where we're talking about criminal responsibility, it says the defendant is criminally responsible as a party to second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated misconduct, and official oppression if the offenses were committed by the defendant's own conduct, by Tadarius Bean conduct, by Demetrius Haley's conduct, by Justice Smith's conduct, or by the conduct of another for which the defendant is criminally responsible, or both. So we don't get to just throw away Emmett Martin. We don't get to just throw away Emmett Martin. Yes, we evaluate them separately. That means evaluate if Tadarius Bean was criminally responsible for Emmett Martin and everybody else out there. That means evaluate if Demetrius Haley was criminally responsible for everybody else out there, so along with Justice Smith. And if they were criminally responsible for each other, then they can be found guilty of second-degree murder. So the question is, and the question has been all along, did they see what happened and not intervene? One way we need criminal responsibility is not intervening. Did they assist in what was happening? Another way we need criminal responsibility. And I submit to you that they were doing both. So the good thing about going third The good thing about the more experienced prosecutors handling the majority of the case is that I've been able to sit and listen and try to find the answer to that question that matters. The answer to that mystery question: did they see it? Did they hear it? Did they know what was happening and not intervene? I've been able to sit and listen to the audio. I've been able to sit and watch the video. And so I want to talk to you, because Ms. Haley talked to you a lot about their acts, what they were doing that showed they could see what was happening, where their eyes were, how they were responding after the fact. Mind you, Tadarius Bean, Justin Smith, they didn't go dump water on their face. They weren't coughing like Kemp Hill. But that's just the things that they were doing. What about the things they said? What about the things that they said? Let's take a look at it. And as we take a look at all the things they said, I want to remind you of this language in the criminal responsibility instructions. The encouragement of the principal offender is enough. Let's start with Demetrius Haley. Mr. Leffler talked about how Demetrius Haley still back at Ross and Raines when majority of the kicks and majority of the punches were happening to Tyre Nichols. Sure he was. But the problem is, by the time he got to Ross and Castlegate, Emmett Martin had already kicked Tyre Nichols for the last time, and he was done kicking. Go back and watch the video. Emmett Martin was done with the soccer ball kicks. But because Demetrius Haley runs in and says, beat that man's ass, what they want you to believe is the same type of verbal judo, or whatever it's called, that he was using on the first scene. He's not responsible for his kick, and he's not responsible for Emmett Martin's kick when he was done kicking. That reasonable? Is that reasonable? The problem, Mr. Leffler, is that on the first scene, when Haley was using that verbal judo, nobody blew Tyre Nichols' ass off. On that first scene, when he was using verbal judo, nobody broke Tyre Nichols' shit. But here, Ralston Castlegate, when he jumps out that car, when those men are already over Tyre Nichols and says, beat that man's ass, he kicks him himself. He not just kick him, he looks for the spot where he wants to kick him. And I know the defense wants you to believe he kicked him in the shoulder, but you watch the video. You tell me if it was the shoulder or he kicked him higher up in his face, the neck area. But it's not about Haley's kick alone. Because once he kicks him, guess who starts back kicking him? Emmett Martin. And we know Emmett Martin's been kicking him in the face and head all night. So Haley is responsible not just for his kick, but for that kick by Martin. And even if he wasn't kicking him, Haley wasn't kicking him in the head, did you hear him tell Emmett Martin to stop? Did you hear him say, hey, don't do that? Did you hear Haley try to intervene in any type of way? You did. What about Tadarius Bean? Mr. Perry told you, and I would agree, the state agrees. Tadarius Bean is a man of few words, doesn't say a lot. You will watch those videos, you will see a lot of other officers are saying a lot more. Tadarius Bean hardly says anything out there on the scene. But the one thing that he does say lets you know he saw what was going on. He was aware of what was going on. Emmett Martin is talking about those haymakers he was giving Tyree Nichols. Talking about how he was rocking Tyree Nichols. And what does Tadarius Bean say? He was eating them hoes. Talking about the licks. Desmond Mills told us that. He was talking about the licks that Emmett Martin was throwing and that Tyree Nichols was eating or taking. I'm gonna play this video. So I'll play it one more time.
Come on, man. I'm rocking him though. He was rocking the machine out here. You know what? Come on, man. I'm rocking him though. He was rocking the machine out here. You know what?
He was eating them hoes. Talking about the licks Emmett Martin was throwing, that the licks that Tyree Nichols was taking. And even in that clip, you see him wide-eyed, it's like he is in the courtroom. Not closing his eyes, not wiping his eyes, not nothing. They're showing that he's affected by the pepper spray that he says was blinding. Nothing. What about Justin Smith? Well, unlike Tadarius Bean, Justin Smith had a whole lot to say that night. He had a whole lot to say that showed he wasn't experiencing tunnel vision. He could hear, he could see what was happening. Mills' body on camera. Twice you're gonna see and you're gonna hear, more importantly, Justin Smith say hit him. The first time he says hit him, he's talking to Mills. He's telling Mills.
Approach, Your Honor.
Okay, so what's going on? Are they showing anything? What's happening here? So
Justin Smith was saying hit him. First time he says hit him, he's talking to Mills. Mills has taken that baton out. Tyree Nichols because you can hear it on the ground, is trying to get up off the ground. And when Tyre Nichols does get off the ground, because they made a big point this week and last week about how Tyre Nichols was not responding to the spray. Tyre Nichols was not responding to the baton strike. You're gonna see on that video, Tyre Nichols responded to the first baton strike. He was trying to get up and run. I've been kicked twice now, hit with the baton. I'm trying to get up. As he gets up, Bean having one arm, Smith having one arm, Smith says, hit him again. And this time, you're gonna see Emmett Martin hit him right after. He's talking to Emmett Martin.
You got to get off my ass. Watch out. I'm gonna try the fuck out. Get the fucking ass. Watch out. Watch out. Get the ass. Get the ass. Get the ass. Watch out. Watch it. Get your fucking ass.
And so as these hits by Emmett Martin are going on, after Justice Smith said hit him the second time, what do we see? The direction that all these men are looking. Nobody's looking down. Nobody's looking off. You see Emmett Martin to the far right. You see Darius Bean with the hook, with the scully. You see Justin Smith with the shoes. Tyre Nichols looking forward, leaning forward from those hits. To Darius Bean, Justin Smith, all looking in the same direction. They were hearing those hits. They were seeing those hits. Same eyes. But they want you to believe that Tadarius Bean and Justin Smith were looking down the entire time. But that's Tadarius Bean looking up Mills' body worn camera. Not affected by pepper spray. Not blind. Seeing those licks. Hearing those licks. What else did Justin Smith say that night? I hit that man with so many pieces. Bean was rocking. I jumped in and started rocking. And after this is over, we're not done, but after this was over, those fist bumps, that encouragement that Miss Haley said these guys were giving each other, you the real MVP. You press play, Miss Haley.
Hey, you good, bro?
You the real MVP. Now this one, we took turns giving him pieces. The words of Justin Smith, we took turns giving him pieces. But wait a minute. Why would Justin Smith be saying we took turns giving him pieces? It was only Emmett Martin who was punching Tyre Nichols. But that's because Justin Smith, and it's gonna take some paying attention to. Justin Smith was actually the first one who threw a punch at Tyre Nichols. Before Emmett Martin landed those haymakers, Justin Smith was the first one who threw a punch at Tyre Nichols. It wasn't a haymaker, but a baby haymaker, if you will. He was the first one. See him with Tyree's hand Watch that hand right there. And Mr. Perry had it on his diagram yesterday. I don't know if anybody caught it. When he was laying out the strikes and the force used on Tyre Nichols, there was a little yellow line that represented Justin Smith, and he had a hand right there because Justin Smith was the first one who threw a punch at Tyre Nichols. And after that, you see all the big haymakers by Emmitt Martin. But this last scene, it's gonna take you to take that jury laptop, and it's gonna take you to plug those speakers up to that jury laptop, and it's gonna take you to listen closely. Because this audio was captured on their body cam. And it was captured after Emmitt Martin was going around telling everybody to take their body cameras off. Some of those body cameras on the cars, squad cars, Justin Smith's body cam in his police squad car. So you weren't supposed to hear this. But if you listen, Justin Smith says, I seen Martin, whop, 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 and I said, just fall. Now we're gonna come back and talk about this when you all finish listening. Now stay right there, please, Miss Haley. That squeaky voice that we heard, that squeaky voice that Neil said Justin Smith has, says, Martin got up and said, wait a minute. Whop, 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 as he's describing the hits by Emmitt Martin. And then what did he say? I said, please fall. Who does he want to fall? Tyre Nichols, because he sees him being hit. He hears the whop, whop, whop. Then he goes on to say, it sounded like thud, thud, thud. The licks. He can hear what's going on. But afterwards, there was something else that was said. It's critical to this case. And when you back there in the jury room with better acoustics and you hook that speaker up, you're gonna hear Emmitt Martin talk about those licks. I thought he was gonna fall. But that man who took the witness stand for the state, as Mr. Martin likes to say, Desmond Mills, you're gonna hear him say, I said, we about to kill this man. So why would Mills, who hasn't thrown a punch, who hasn't kicked a kick, why would he say, we about to kill this man? After all the deadly force used against Tyre Nichols, this police officer, who understands or should understand criminal responsibility, he doesn't say Emmitt Martin is about to kill this man. He doesn't say Haley is about to kill this man. He doesn't say Justin Smith, we're all out here together, we're all in this together, we about to kill this man. Play it one more time, Ms. Haley. It doesn't take monsters to kill a man. It doesn't take monsters to kill a man. All it takes is 2 soccer ball kicks to the head, 3 baton strikes, 5 haymakers to the head, 2 more kicks, and nobody's saying stop. Nobody's saying don't do it. Nobody's saying grab Emmett Martin. Because that's the question. If they seen it and it was excessive, which every expert who took the stand said every one of those punches and every one of those kicks were excessive force. One said not justified. If they seen it, that's what it takes. Not one person saying stop. Not one person saying grab Emmett Martin. And so, when the smoke clears and when the mirrors break, those facts and that law that you have, it stands. It's still in place. When we were back in Chattanooga, I went last then, and I stood up, and I said, you all had one job to do when you got here to Memphis. You all had one job to do when you got to this dangerous city. You all got one job while you're here, and that's to follow the facts in the law. To follow the facts in the law. Those are the facts. You have the law. And if you follow the facts in the law, your mind can rest easy, beyond a reasonable doubt. Enough to let the mind rest easy. If you follow the facts in the law, your mind can rest easy that there sits 3 men who are criminally responsible for the murder, the aggravated kidnapping, and the aggravated assault of Tyre Nichols, as well as official misconduct and official oppression. Find them all guilty as charged of every charge. Thank you.
Testing. Okay, there we go. All right, people. So, did you guys think that this woman did an excellent job in her rebuttal? I don't think so. Now I see why they got acquitted, because of the simple fact that the madness that this woman was saying. I'm kind of like, really? I mean, is this the best that you can do? Really? Oh my God, peoples. I understand now why they got acquitted. Because they got a they got a prosecutor who doesn't even know how to close an argument. This was just so dry. Man, it's crazy, people. We're going to take a little bit more on this. Let's see if we can get some analysis here and stuff, something a little longer. Let's take a look at this and see what they had to say, peoples. I'm sitting here cooking my tri-tip. We're going to blow past all of this dead spot stuff and get right into the nitty gritty here. Now let's see what the defense attorney has to say. Because this prosecutor, boy, this heifer, she needs to sit down or retire or something.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of our jury. This is, as we've talked about, sometimes the difficult part of after eating a big lunch, having to sit down in here and listen. So we're going to ask for you all to be attentive. We are going to turn the time over to Mr. Perry for your closing remarks.
Please support.
Yes, sir.
January 7th, 2023 at 8:30 more or less. Tadarius Bean didn't know anything about Tyre Nichols. He didn't know anything about what Tyree Nichols had done. At that time, he didn't know anything about the fact that moments earlier, Tyree Nichols drove from 285 in Riverdale all the way to Ross in Rains while having blue lights cut on at first and then cut off because Memphis has a no chase policy. At 8:30, Tadarius Bean would not have known whether or not Tyree Nichols had a gun, whether or not he had a knife, whether or not he knew self-defense. He didn't know whether he had murdered anybody. He didn't know whether or not he had kidnapped somebody or carjacked somebody. Because those are the things that Tadarius Bean has to interact with on a nightly basis. Those are the types of arrests that he's made. At 8:30, Tadarius Bean was a passenger in a vehicle that had a person in handcuffs because they had a warrant. And he hears that a person has been tased and pepper sprayed and had gotten away from his fellow officer. That's all that Tadarius Bean knew. So at 8:30, on that same evening, while he's a passenger looking into the night for a suspect, not knowing what he had done or who he had done it to, he looks out the window and sees the person who meets that description. Tadarius Bean, after he saw that suspect and met that description, would have a fate that would intercept with somebody who, according to his mom, didn't have it all together. At 8:32, Tadarius Bean, not knowing anything about this man, did this. That's what he's trying to do. He sees a person that meets a description and he runs to get that person. No more, no less. He doesn't know anything about this. He doesn't know that this is in the man's car. None of those items belong to that man. But he doesn't know that. All he knows is that this person, after being lawfully stopped and attempted to be searched, took off running and overcame 3 grown men. And he attempts to do his job. I told you at the beginning that the law in this case would come from the judge, and that hasn't changed. But the facts come from this stand. And the facts that have turned in red on this all support not guilty verdicts on all counts for Tadarius Bean. Every witness supported Bean's not guilty. Every one of them. When asked about him holding this person and why he's holding him, every witness says the same thing. You can't let a person go if he has one cuff on and one cuff off. You just can't do it. Every witness, all of the documentary evidence supports Bean being not guilty. You see those items that are stolen. That's from the person who was just getting sesame chicken. But Bean doesn't do anything to punish this person. He's trying to apprehend him. Every witness says that. Every witness and all the videos support the fact that he's not guilty. And we'll go into these in more detail in the moments to come. If you isolate the actions of Tadarius Bean, did he have probable cause to chase the suspect? Clearly he did. Was he proper to chase the suspect? And did he chase him in a proper way? All of the witnesses say the same thing, yes. The evidence shows that Bean, while pepper sprayed, maintained in the constant struggle with the suspect. You heard from the state's witness, Mills, that he pepper sprayed. Not only did you hear from him, but afterwards, when you hear this conversation, the so-called high-fiving about what happened, you hear during that conversation, Bean talking about his eyes burning. But in addition to talking about his eyes burning, He also talks about the fact that I bust my shit again too, meaning his knee. And you'll hear him talk about how the sutures in his knee open while he's out there on that particular night. You'll hear that you heard rather, there's no direct proof of any kicks coming from Bean whatsoever. The only strikes, if you slow it down and you take it at a quarter speed in particular, you see that all strikes are to the forearm after Tyre Nichols is turned over and is reaching up. He pushes the officers off of him while he's on the ground, and they're asking for him to get on his stomach so they can put cuffs on him. It's impractical and dangerous for Bean to let the suspect's hands go. And you heard about the one handcuff on, and you saw the experts in the case. And once again, you should judge Bean's actions based off of the training that he received, and you saw the evidence regarding the training. Scorpion Unit, once again, the evidence supports the fact that it was a street crimes operation to restore peace in our neighborhood, that the unit was created to interact with gangs, violent criminals, and to apprehend guns, dope, and money, and they were being told how successful it was. Created in 2021, and it consisted of several teams. And you also heard from both witnesses about how Team 1 was sent to the most dangerous places in response to the most dangerous spikes in crime. And you heard from Mills and Hempfield regarding how they were being congratulated from the brass at the top about the effectiveness of the unit. You had to be selected into the unit. They didn't just ask you to, well, you want to apply to the Scorpion team. They would come and talk to your superiors and ask you, does this person have the type of character and abilities to serve on this type of interactive team? Let's go back to those actions on January 7th. Just like what came from the witnesses, they met on Flickr at 6 for roll call. They were assigned out in that East Memphis area due to the spike in auto burglaries and thefts and carjacking. A person driving away from blue lights is indicative of those types of activities. Detective Bean was part of a two-man car, Mills being the driver of that car, and Bean was the passenger. At around 8:30, Detective Bean and Mills have a person in custody with warrants, and they let the misdemeanor warrants go in order to respond to that other location. And the suspect had been tased and pepper sprayed. That comes out over the radio. So that's what their interactions are based on. Detective Bean and Mills see the person, and you saw earlier at 8:32, Bean makes contact from inside his car with him visually, and when he tries to speak to him, the guy takes off running. And then you see that 3-minute struggle. Now, Detective Bean and Detective Justice Smith get to the person almost simultaneously, but Detective Bean doesn't know Justice Smith is even out there on a perimeter. He knows that he's running after this person who has made eye contact with him and made the decision to run away from him. That's all that he knows, and he tries to apprehend him. He used the use of force continuum, and you'll get a chance to read that yourself. Visual presence, verbal commands, and then how it escalates into hard hands. And you don't have to go step by step. They can jump in escalation. Use of pepper spray, the use of verbal judo, the use of hard hands slapping the person's wrist. None of those are out of the ordinary or anything wrong. Once the suspect was finally secured in handcuffs, and you look at the videos yourself, when handcuffs went on this person, nobody came up and got a kick, nobody came up and got an extra punch, nobody came up and shook him or did anything inappropriate to him. Once the handcuffs were on, the interaction was over. You get a chance to, when you're back there, review the policy that's been submitted as evidence. You heard from the experts regarding active and passive training, high-risk stops, the response to resistance within that policy, how hard hands and kicks and punches and slaps are a part of the hard hand apprehension process, and the use of force continuum. You heard about tunnel vision, non-lethal force, training in taser usage. The only person that had a taser on that team was Enfield at that time, and how the taser prongs, how the taser hit him. He says, you'll hear the videos, I hit the bastard. Now here, after being questioned, and as he used the term and I used it, browbeat, he says he didn't know for sure where they hit him. You judge by the video whether or not it looks like the taser's hit. It's that simple. You heard from, and I asked the question of the expert, Mr. Cameron, regarding ineffective force versus excessive, because he's written about it and he's presented about it. Ineffective, if you're looking from a sky cam, looks the same as excessive. It just does. If it's not working, it looks excessive. But when you look at the body-worn cameras, and you have to do it in order to appreciate what they're trying to do and what they're going through and trying to get the guy into custody, it's showing they're not trying to punish somebody on the side of the road because you got this person's ID, or you got this person, you were involved in a crime and we're just gonna beat the heck out of you. That's not what this was about. This was trying to get this man into handcuffs. Mr. Mills regrets using his aspartame, and I'm sure he regrets the verbiage that he used. I wanted him to testify, and he did so, about the time in which he changed his plea, because his initial statements was, it was by the book. He didn't have the access of the book and looking at it and all that stuff at the time. This was a mere day or two afterwards, and he talked about how he responded and how he acted. But after hours and hours with the Department of Justice, and somebody saying, well, it sounds like you're pissed off. Yeah, it does, all of a sudden change to, well, maybe I shouldn't have used the aspartame. But in fact, he used the aspartame verbatim the way that MPD teaches you. 3 strikes to the arms. Nobody's hit this man in the head with an aspartame or with any other instrument. He does not get struck with an aspartame anywhere but where they train you, between here and here. And you'll have the opportunity to go back and look at Mills' body-worn camera in order to assess that. And it's important that you do, because it tells the story as how they are moving away from the person, and he still hasn't come into compliance with their request. The use of the aspartame happens. The witnesses in the case, when doing the opening presentation, you don't really know exactly how much a person might be incentivized by the fact that if you're looking at life and you've negotiated down to no more than 15, etc., that might play a role in saying, well, you know what, I'm going to stretch the truth this far against them. But Mills was honest. He said that their use of force, according to him, when they're old enough, and when I asked him about it, can they let go to talk about somebody striking a person at that time? He said no. The danger is still there for the officers until the handcuffs, or the bracelets as they call them, are on the person. We talked about the fact that being, you'll have an instruction regarding character witnesses. Nobody refutes the fact that Bean has the type of character that he had, that he's by the book, that he won't go get a hamburger in an issued car if they say you can't get a hamburger in your issued car. The fact that the person who came in from Mr. Taylor from college said that, hey, even when there was a little money missing, this, that, or the other, he took it so seriously that he came and got me from across campus at the law school and said, how do I deal with this? Let's go to the bank. I want this done immediately. That's the type of person that he is. Then you hear from Mr. McKinney, the one who had the pepper spray. They were in the same class. I wanted him to talk to you about how the effect that it had on him. You'll see how it affected him. But he talked about Mr. Bean's character, that is stellar. You heard from his FTO trainer, a field training officer. He's one of his favorite persons that he has trained through the years, because you tell him one time how to do it, and that's how he's going to do it person. You're the experts. The state didn't produce an expert. Think about that. The funds and things that the state might have at their availability, can't find one person to say to you all that Tadarius Bean's actions were inappropriate. You can say it low. You can try to tear it up. You can almost cry about it. You can say he just wanted to get the good old chicken. But it does not change the fact that Tadarius Bean acted the way that he's supposed to act. The time for sympathies and stuff like that, I have the highest degree of respect for Ms. Wells. I didn't ask her a question. She lost her son. I understand that. Any mother who loses a son, obviously, would have pain. The driving is a privilege. a person cannot take that privilege to do whatever it might be. Driving, having to stop for blue lights, getting out of a car and acting like you might have done things that you didn't do. They don't know the answers to that as public servants while they are trying to bring this person into custody. They don't have the privilege of second guessing it. It's not fair. All of the experts indicated that Bean's actions were appropriate. And then look at the videos. Keep in mind, and it's kind of underscored when Ms. Headley was discussing it earlier, but Bean cuts that video on. The video does not all of a sudden get volume a minute later. What it means is while he's running towards the person, he hits it. And it's your body-worn camera is constantly recording, and then once you trigger it, it keeps the recording instead of recording over it. That's why the volume doesn't come on for a minute. So after he's in the course of running towards this person, supposedly going to do something to punish the man that he's never met before, he triggers his body-worn camera and gets to him and then stops him. But that's his body-worn camera that you hear her discuss about the sounds and things like that. It comes off because Tadarius Bean, while he's trying to arrest Mr. Nichols, is in that scuffle where Mr. Nichols is constantly reaching up and knocks it off. But that's his triggered body-worn camera. The officers were aware, and you heard Mr. Mills say, well, I didn't know it for days later. There's no testimony whatsoever as to what Tadarius Bean would have known as he's running towards the person and they pass this blinking blue light. They know that there's an overhead there. That's no surprise to them. Now, as far as the person who was there and he's been talking about the hours that they've spent in front of Department of Justice, then it might change to a shock me moment. Yeah, that was the first time I knew about it. But there's been no testimony as to whether or not Tadarius Bean knew that there was a recording. What we do know is that he recorded himself because he hit that button. And you got to consider the distance and the angle of that pole camera. Next one. This is an isolation of the punches that we're talking about, and it's taken from the Sky camera, the Skycop camera time. And so it just outlines the force that's used. The red lines at the top, you got two different kicks. You can't tell whether they land, and Ms. Headley talked about a thud on a camera, from the sound of a camera. That's not the same as looking at something and telling whether or not that type of force was administered. And you definitely don't know whether or not it's being seen while Tadarius Bean is looking down at this guy trying to bend his arm in a way to put handcuffs on. The baton being deployed. If you'll note, and I forgot the exact phrase, but it sounded like clear or move back, when he pushed the baton out, they didn't stand in a location around Mr. Nichols to make this ass baton have to hit him in the head. They cleared so he could get to the place where they tell you to administer the blow, to the arm. That's why they get out of the way like that. And that's how you're supposed to. Then it appears that Martin slaps him with an open hand, and then Martin hits him. And nobody is here to say Martin did not hit him. Martin's not here. So as to what was going on in his mind and what he thought he was going to do, there's been no testimony regarding that and how Tadarius Bean, who's holding on to an arm in these seconds, can all of a sudden say, hey, time out everybody, y'all stop, everybody stop. And know whether or not Mr. Nichols is just going to stand there and say, we're all good now. You can put the handcuffs on me. But what I do know, brutal though it sounds, after the hitting, he failed when they pushed him put him to the ground, and the interaction stopped while he's back on the ground. They're on him still trying to get the handcuffs on him, and they still can't get it until somebody comes in, really, until they can get the man's legs to stop moving and hold the leg for a second so that they can get him steady enough to put the handcuffs on him. And when you're looking at it, look at it from the fact that you're trying not to break his arm or dislocate his arm. That's what the concern of Darius Bean is, and you can tell by their body movements. They're trying not to hurt his arms. That's what they're focusing on. They're trying to get those arms behind him, and he won't put them in a position where they can put the cuffs on him. And it's that simple. There's a lot of discussion about the size of the individual. Darius Bean's 5'10". Tyre Nichols is 6'3", according to the hospital records. According to the records, he's 180, and he's 6'3". Next. I indicated that I would not talk about what he was before or after that night because I'm not concerned with trying to in any way disparage Mr. Nichols. I know that when they got to the door, that for the initial interaction with the police, it was, I don't know him. Until the police, and you'll recall it, you'll get a chance to play that video. The police had to say, so y'all hadn't lived here that long or what have you, this person's ID says that he lives here. And eventually, they say, okay, what's going on? They don't know what all he's into. But there definitely had to have been something that this person said, I don't know. So, you're expecting Mr. Bean to know the level of force and the level of coercion that it would take to get this man in the handcuffs when his own folks say that they don't know him. We know that he did drive 2 miles away from the blue lights and sirens. You'll see the reenactment. You heard the testimony of Mr. Hempfield. And you'll see the videos that are involved. And you'll see the camera inside the car of Mr. Martin. You know that he ran from the first scene and he ran from Detective Bean. That was from the testimony of Hempfield and from Mr. Mills. Nichols drove in a manner to avoid police detention. That's according to Mr. Hempfield's testimony. We know that he refused to stop and he subsequently resist arrest. Mr. Nichols would know that he had dope in the car and the stolen credit cards and the stolen ID. Does he have a right to resist being stopped? All of the experts say that he doesn't. Ms. Headley says that he doesn't. And I agree that he doesn't. Does he ignore lawful commands for his hands to be handcuffed? All 3 experts said that he did. He ignored those lawful commands. Was he actively resisting by running and walking and pulling away from Detective Bean? And the answer is yes. And that's according to all of the experts that are involved. And the actions at 6705 Ross Ridge are important because they show that this is not just somebody trying to get home for chicken or whatever it might be. This is the actions of a person who's doing whatever he is between those cars, trying to avoid being arrested because he knows what he has done and why he's trying to get away from them. They don't know that. They don't have the ability to check inside of his mind. They don't have the ability to even know he's out at 6705. They know that he's gotten away from them and they're trying to bring him in. That's all. Darius Bean is on trial. Mr. Nichols is not on trial like Ms. Headley said. You know, he graduated. He goes to the academy. He gets out of the academy. He's riding with Mr. Turner. He started out as a patrolman 2. Mr. Turner was an FTO officer. He had no write-ups while he was in that precinct. He had no complaints against him. And this is not only while he's in the precinct, but while he's a member of the Scorpion team. He had no issues or accusations of misconduct. Keep in mind, this is not some case when they're talking about, because you'll look at the official oppression, the oppression chart. This is not some case where they're out trying to beat up guys that are accused of selling drugs or trying to make a fast buck or doing something to escort dope dealers or to try to beat up somebody behind an alley because allegedly he did something wrong or that they disagree with. This is simply textbook police work where you're trying to get a man into custody that is resisting, and you can't do it. And he took his job seriously. He was assigned to Team 1, and that was it. These are the reasons why, and you'll have the 7 charges And I think you got 35 different subsets. And sometimes people say, well, we don't think that it was second-degree murder. We think that it was reckless homicide, etc. All of those charges require some form of intent or recklessness. And keep that in mind. So the word that you will see in those charges will show that it can't just be, well, we got to, us three want all acquittal, and the rest of us say, well, we should give the family something. These are not compromise charges. These are charges that have to be met until they give violence to your individual judgment. In other words, these are charges that they had the burden of proving, and they just haven't proved. But in this case, unlike most cases where it's something, and I'm gonna go through a chart with the burden of proof, etc., where you actually have reasons that you can rely on while you're arguing back here with your co-jurors, if there are any people that think that they've proved anything. Number one, being in response to a distress call the way he's trained. Do you want your officers not to do that? Number two, there's no plan to harm anybody. All of them said the same thing. There was no conspiracy or, hey, first guy we get tonight, we're going to try to beat the hell out of. There was no discussion about Nichols whatsoever. Number three, he chases the suspect as he's trained down a dark street. He doesn't know what he has. He relies on his courage out of that night that covered him black from pole to pole, like the poet would say. He did that on his own as he was trained. Knows the suspect has overpowered 3 officers. That's what the call out is. He knows that that's dangerous. Number 4, only hits the suspect's hands. There are times that if they wanted to beat or pummel this dude or break his nose or break his neck, they had that opportunity. When Tadarius Bean and Justin Smith are trying to get his hands, why not just start wailing on him? Hitting him in the jaw, hitting him in the face, kicking him, stomping him out. Did they do that? Y'all saw the videos. That's not what happened. Next number, 3 experts and police officers all agree with Bean's actions, that they were appropriate under those circumstances. There's no conversation about injuring or restraining or killing Nichols at all from any of their witnesses. Bean manually and intentionally activates his body-worn camera. So to do all of these 7 things that they're saying that they're accusing him of doing, he wanted to record it. So in addition to being this great guy and everything that they make fun of, he's an idiot. He wants to record himself create these or commit these criminal acts according to them. Bean acknowledged Nichols' strength. You hear the conversations after. These high-five conversations, which is this. He's the hardest dude that we've had to arrest. And I'm going to, excuse my French, and I'm going to just try to talk to y'all plain and forgive me. And if anybody walks to me or whatever, that I apologize for the cussing. But they are out there wondering, to use her words, what the fuck is going on? When Ron Will said she had to look at her son, she wanted to know what the fuck was going on. They wanted to know it. That's what they're saying back behind the truck. Man, he's high as fuck. God damn. Man, I bust my shit again. Man, I had to reopen my knee. I'm supposed to be off tonight. That's what these public servants are discussing, where she's saying that it's high five and beer time. They're discussing this guy who, out of all those different arrests that they've had, have never had this type of issue. Even this is another thing. Hardcore, hard dope dealers or thugs or whatever you might want to call them, they might be bad. Usually, when they get to the police and the police say, put the hands behind my back, you know what they do? The perfect world, I said, they might be saying, I'm going to call Todd and see if he can get me out of this. But they don't do what he did. That's not him trying to be some martyr. That's him, for whatever reason, thinking that he's more important than the process. Being observed, Nichols ignored these lawful commands. So while they're saying, hey, I'm going to be altruistic and say, we need to stop trying to hit him, he's supposed to overcome his own emotion, trying to get this guy into custody, his own adrenaline, his own fatigue, and be able to say, man, his own eyes burning, and then say, hey, y'all, you can't hit, don't hit. Because I think there's some human factors that one of the experts talked about, Mr. Zalitkin. Bean observed Nichols gather his legs up. Remember when he's on the ground and they seemingly would have come into some compliance under, you heard Mr. Mills talk about what the asbeton does. What's his response to it? He still stands up and tries to walk off. Now, in this instance, in this case, because of the case and all that stuff, it's, you know, he can try to run because he's scared of these officers. Does that make sense? Ask yourselves when y'all are discussing it. He's just so scared that he wants to stand up and walk off from these officers as opposed to turning over, putting his hand behind his back, and allowing the cuffs to go on. Witnesses testified that Bean is by the book. No prior instances like we talked about before. Nichols was motivated to flee in flight. He's got dope, stolen credit cards, and stolen IDs. That's a motivation for him to act like he did. Once the handcuffs were on, who struck him again? Who kicked him? Who talked bad to him? Not a single person once the handcuffs were on. There's no DNA evidence regarding Bean whatsoever. And what benefit would Bean have from injuring Mr. Nichols? What benefit to him? There's nothing here that indicates that he would have gotten any sort of thrill out of it or any sort of money gain, nothing. And so when you look at these 20-some odd reasons, think about this one also. Think about the video of 6705 Ross Ridge, where Nichols is not yelling for neighbors to come help him or not running his tail off to get to home and all of that. He's ducking and dodging between cars. And you heard the testimony from Mr. Baker that nobody ever went out there to see if there was anybody else's credit cards or anybody or any items that would help you break into a car and steal these credit cards. Nobody ever searches or does anything regarding that because the focus was on how it looked and the possible public outcry. That's what the focus was on. And the investigation from the gate was biased. It wasn't any focus about both sides of it. It was all the rumors and innuendos that might be out there about what these guys might have wanted to do and all this type of stuff, but nothing about how difficult it was to bring this guy into custody. This is only, and this will not go back to you for evidentiary purposes, but I want to give emphasis to it because it shows where he is, and you'll have your own individual notes. And this is during the time that there were any strikes rendered. And this is based off of the overhead of the Skycam video. Time that the pepper spray goes all these different ways. Mr. Bean's eyes are still blurred and burning, but he has to have a hand on this suspect that has run off from 2 different locations. And he does that. And that's at 20, 33, and 57. This is the time of the video and you hear Mr. Smith yelling out the different, trying to read the locations. Bean is still with his hands on the person. He's not looking at Martin or what Martin's about to do or can do. His focus is down, and you look at where his head is, it's down. And that's at 20, 34, and 12 seconds. And when you slow it down, slow it to a quarter and see if you can tell whether or not the kick connects to him on either of those kicks. Y'all do it back there. You have the ability, it's the evidence that you got away. But look at it for those purposes as well. Mills is walking off, trying to regather his breathing. Bean and Smith don't have that luxury. They don't have that luxury to gather their breaths. And all this time, could have turned on his stomach and got the handcuffs behind his back and just doesn't do it. This is when the first blow from the baton. You'll see the one hand is gathered by Mr. Bean, and he's holding it as the other is attempting to put the handcuff on. That's at 20, 34, and 56 on the Skycam video. This is the second blow from the baton. Same position, and he's holding that arm. The suspect is still done what the expert referred to as blading his body, or having his body on the side, not on his stomach, trying to get handcuffs on. Mr. Nichols stands up on his own, and they don't have the luxury of saying, hey, let's just let him walk on so he can go up the street. They don't know where he lives. They're holding on to him because they do not want this suspect to get away. When you're at 20:35:08, analysts on the jury and people that are athletic and understand center of gravity, look at how he's pulling when you look at the video and you're isolated at that time. This is at 20:35:09, and it's more definitive than just a few seconds ago. You will see his center of gravity, Mr. Bean's center of gravity, 20:35:09, where he's actively pulling the man away. Away from any kind of blows from this is where center of gravity gets lowest. And imagine that you're pulling somebody like this and they got the strength to not go with your pull. That's where it comes about, man, he's strong as an MF. He's strong as hell. That's what the other folks are saying. All me saying when they're over there is, man, he was eating. That's what they are offended by. The fact that after dealing with all of this, they say, you know, a person takes pepper spray, punches, etc. Man, he just was eating that stuff because it looked like he was high to them. And as he tries to walk away, Bean grabs that right arm and says, no, you can't walk away as a suspect. Just can't do it. Because at this point, I don't know what you have done and why you have done and why are you acting like this. I don't know it. That's it. That is what you'll see on the videos that offends the state, and I understand that, and this is their case. But this is their case, and this is their burden of proof. Criminal defense cases or criminal cases, you have the highest burden of proof in the history of mankind. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not a standard where you're across the street and trying to get custody, or if you're trying to get money on a case where a preponderance of the evidence, etc. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. This case, more than any that I've ever had, is not only in this gray area, blue area, it's not in here where it would be not guilty. It's down here, proven not guilty. He videotaped himself. But you got the witnesses. We deal with Mills. Mills is the first witness that they called. That was a fact witness. No plan, no plot, no conspiracy, no knowledge of what Bean was doing, or what Nichols was doing, I'm sorry. You don't have Bean in the car mad, talking about, man, I don't want to be on work tonight. I'm sick of this stuff. I'm sick of the city. I'm sick of the problems that they put us on the front line to deal with. None of that. Just a regular night. They're going about their job. Mills did not testify that Bean used excessive force. To the contrary, he said that his force was appropriate. Hempfield, same thing. I've never seen Bean use excessive force. I've never heard him talk about any kind of street tax. I've never seen him upset. He was a good, quiet officer that minded his business and did his work. That's their testimony. Hempfield had the ability to make up stuff or what have you. He said, you know, and everybody doesn't have people that are in the upper echelons of the police department to tell them. But he wasn't going to kowtow to what the Department of Justice said. He stuck with his story. This is what happened. I wasn't on that second scene, but I know what he was like on the first scene. I know how strong he was. I know he wasn't doing what we asked him to do. I know he was speeding. I know he was changing lanes inappropriately. I know that we followed him 2.5 miles to another location after he thought we had turned off. He stuck with his guns. He ain't facing that type of stuff. So he's smarter than the situation. But he testified favorably regarding Tadarius Bean. So Mackey testified they were all sworn officers. So these aren't a group of guys that's just out here jumping out of cars and trying to fight somebody or do something wrong to somebody or a vigilante crew. These are sworn police officers. Mackey, proven not guilty. Robert Long. I don't want to downplay what Robert Long said, but as it relates to Tadarius Bean, he didn't interfere with any of the assistance given. You see him lifting this guy up, and he was exhausted. And if you don't think he's exhausted after running that many yards to get somebody, count the steps. I count them, 93 steps. 93 steps with 40 pounds of ammunition on and a duty belt. You think that that's just a fun night that we want to go out and terrorize somebody? But Robert Long said he wasn't a hindrance. He wasn't in the way. Did what he was supposed to do. Testified favorably for Tadarius Bean. Greg Turner. He's my favorite, that's his word, trainee. He was studious. I told him what to do one time. I didn't have to tell him again. I was his beginning FTO officer. I was his release into the field secondary FTO officer. And I worked with him for the 2 years that he was in my precinct. Never an issue with him. It's no surprise that they came talking about Tadarius. We need you on the Scorpion unit. We need you dealing with the issues that Memphis has. He testified for Tadarius Bean. DNA expert. No DNA expert talking about what all he did and I'm glad I can barely say what deoxyribonucleic acid, ribonucleic acid or what have you. I didn't have to say any of that. Why? Because there's no evidence regarding Tadarius Bean. Proven not guilty. Kevion Taylor, I'm jumping back to a character witness. Knew him in college. Knew him at a time that, you know, you might want to get it together. He wasn't 29 years old, he's 20. But he had it together. He had his act together. In college. That's a character person. That's not somebody out playing games at night. That's a character person that has what it takes to have been a sworn MPD officer that wants to work and get home at night. Proven not guilty. Marco Ross. Was there any evidence about anything that Bean did regarding any strikes to the head? No, they want to say that Bean, while he's holding this guy who has broken away from 3 officers already, is supposed to be responsible for what kind of day Detective Martin might be having. But we know one thing, that blows to the wrist didn't cause it. Blows to the wrist didn't kill him. Marco Ross, he testified in favor of Tadarius Bean. Jordan Riley, Kelly Rogers, Might forgot the names, but we know one thing, they didn't know Tyree Nichols. We know that. We know that he had their stuff in their car. We know that. We know that they didn't get a ride, telling them to forget their purses or what have you. Why do we know that? Because this stuff happened back in October. This stuff happened back in Halloween. And ironically, the stuff is stolen on the same night and it happens to be in the same person's car. I mean, y'all are 12 people, and I don't know, well, about 14 at this time, but it'll be 12 eventually. I don't know who's smarter or who's not, but you're smart enough to have made it here. Not smarter than I am, but I can figure this. The stuff didn't belong to Tyree Nichols, and it's in his car. So whether or not it's Sesame Chicken or trying to get away with their stuff, they testified in favor of Tadarius Bean. 3 experts. They might say, man, well, how long have you been, Zwicky? I don't know how old Zwicky is. Zwicky's a lot better shape than I probably am. And, like, well, I did law enforcement until about 15 years ago. But I know right from right, and I know wrong from wrong. I know what they were doing was right. I know that you have to focus on what you have to focus on. Why? Because as soon as you don't, this guy might not be this good guy trying to get Sesame Chicken. It might have a pistol in his pocket and blow your brains out. That's what they deal with on a nightly basis. I make a mistake at the table, Martin lean over and say, hey man, you know what, you might should have asked that. You know what, Mr. Stingle might look over and say, hey man, what about this, what do you think? They make a mistake at their table, they can conjure up and say, hey, we should have asked this. That was a bad analogy. Let's do it this way. They can have those conversations. They can have those conversations for an hour. They can talk to you 2 hours about an incident that took place for 3 minutes. Tadarius Bean can't do that because he'll get his head blown off. He doesn't have the choice of whether or not this man has it together. He does not have the ability to make that assessment. The games have to stop. All 3. Because the state wanted them to, would ask questions regarding the circumstances that they were facing, testified in favor of proving not guilty. I told McKinney last, next to last, because McKinney knew him from the academy, and then he also testified about the eyes and how it feels. And you'll see his video back there. But he testified about that situation. Johnny Major said, character is when nobody knows what you're doing. Character is what you do when the lights are off. Character is what you do when ain't nobody else watching. That's what character is. Wasn't nobody watching that car when he said, hey man, come get me and run me a mile up the road. That's character. That is a person who has a fiber in him that nobody else can define for him. So when the New York Times dude called me and said, hey, I want to do a story on the parents to see what they think about their thing, you know what I can say to them? I can say, hey man, if I'm his parent, I'm jumping up and down with pride that my guy could get out of a car and running after somebody who he knows nothing about because that's what he's sworn to do. I'm not answering the door and saying, hey, does Tyree Nichols live here? No. And these are good people now. These are good people. Good neighborhood. Solid stepdad. Solid man. Help his son get a job. Works with his son. I don't know him. I don't want his problems here. I don't know him. You think about that. Police knock at your door about children. I don't know the man. I'm sorry. I got to do it. Now, petty. If her son wasn't together at 29 years old and he's out on the street and he's running from where the police are, if he's running from them, I'm sorry. If he doesn't have it together, and he should have it together, I apologize to her. She's a good woman. Cussing don't bother me because I'd be cussing about my son if he's dead. That don't bother me. But I know one thing. He didn't have it together. Tadarius Bean had it together. She testified for not guilty. She testified not guilty. So this is where we are. I don't know how much time I got left, but I'm about to beg because I don't have a vote. I don't have the ability to stand back there and to say what's right, what's wrong, or anything. I spent 5 days in your city, and I respect you guys for coming down here and being willing not to make up some story about not wanting to do it and overcoming whatever it is that is an imposition in your lives, because you got lives that you could be at home dealing with what you do. John Sr., my dad, taught me not to be jealous. Not to be jealous. Don't go to somebody's house and come here talking about, man, I wish we had that TV. Yada, yada, yada. I couldn't do that. Not around him. He wanted me to have the type of character that various being has. But I got to be frank with you. When I did my Monday morning and Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning, I would walk around that square where the aquatic center is. And when they're setting up the festival on that Friday morning, I don't even know what the name of the festival is. I got jealous. That city's right. That city's right. Now, this city has some good leaders. And this city has some leaders that I love. And there's some leaders that I love that are on the opposite side of what they think might have happened out there on that scene. I respect that. I got to respect that. But I also got to respect the fact that in this particular case, you got 5 guys that are doing their damnedest to get home. I got one that I represent, that I am at the proudest moment of my life to represent him, because he did what I don't know if I would have the courage to do. He got out of the car and he grabbed a guy that he thought had done something wrong. That he'd done it all these other times and it wasn't a problem. But on this particular night, because of how he looks afterwards, after this man had 56 times that they asked him for his hands and refused to do it, because of that public outcry, or whatever it might be, he's got to sit here in front of you all. He has to have put his life in the balance, and it's in your hands. So you got all these different subsets, and while you look at those different subsets, I challenge each one of you that at the end of it to discuss it, because the judge says, hey, you got to read all that stuff, and you're supposed to read it, and it is respectful to read it. But it should be just as easy as he did to jump out that car on each one, not guilty. And
I had to jump in here for one moment, people, because I must say, this guy is very effective in what he is doing. Because the one thing he didn't do was to keep referencing the video over and over and over again. This man sat up here and he talked to the jurors. He humanized Tiberius Bean. He didn't demonize him, he humanized him. He made him a human. And then keep going back to the video to try to inflame the jurors. He talked to them people. And he said, this is what they were trying to do. And they did it. Simple. This is what they were trying to do. And they did it. And so when you're looking at the evidence, you have to weigh the evidence with that what their policies and procedures are. And if this man violated the policies and procedures, then the experts would have said so. But obviously, the experts didn't say so. The experts had spoken in his defense, in his behalf. And I must say, people, you know, he made a very compelling argument. Very compelling. I mean, you know, if it was me sitting on a jury and listening to him, I still would have convicted him, but I still would have, you know, wait heavenly what he said. But although he is saying what he's saying, and I get it, and I'm just only speaking of me in my eyes. I get it. But at the end of the day, peoples, it doesn't take 5 people to beat a man down into submission. Just in the case of Rodney King. But in this case, there were black on black crime. 5 people to break a person down. And my thing was, they had every ample opportunity to strap him down, to check him for any weapons or anything, instead of beating him down. There's many ways that you can subdue a person, but they chose to beat him instead of doing anything else. And all of that muscle power, I don't care how tall or how much Tiberius, I don't care how tall or how much Tyre Nichols weigh. The bottom line is you had 5 officers with gear on, pepper spray and handcuffs, and all of them looked to be in somewhat okay condition. And you mean to tell me that 5 guys could not subdue one person? Really, peoples? Really? I mean, you got to be kidding me. And it's because of that is why I would have voted to convict. Even understanding that they were only following by their protocol. But even with the protocol, it didn't take 5 guys to subdue one person who was totally unarmed. And even after the strikes has been submitted, it still didn't take 5 officers with full gear, weapons and things up on the person to subdue one unarmed individual. And I see where the prosecutors had made their mistake, because they kept referencing the video and trying to inflame the jury instead of just talking to them. And this is how the Diddy's case is going to be, people. Diddy is going to get off. He's going to get off. Because one of the main people who was supposed to have came to testify in his trial, they can't even get in touch with. And the trial is going to be starting in a couple of weeks. After jury selection. Incredible. But that's what it is. And so, although this person right here, I really have to shake his hand, because he made a very compelling argument. Very compelling. But at the end of the day, people, the hurdle for me is, why did it take 5 guys to subdue one person? And even if you're going by all of your training and all of the other stuff that he proclaimed they had a right to do, they didn't have to do it. And that's what I'm saying. And at the end of the day, the person's life was taken behind their actions. And so would they be convicted of murder, involuntary manslaughter, something, not just totally exonerated just because this is what their policy says? That doesn't fly with me. But I wasn't on the jury. And the jury has spoken, and I have to accept what the jury had said, peoples, because the jury have spoken, not Edward Joseph. And that's what the jury had said. And they have the final word.
Sign it. On the count 2, where it talks about the kidnapping, should be just as easy. On each one of these pages, you'll have the chance to strike not guilty, not guilty, oppression, not guilty, aggravated assault, not guilty, especially kidnapping. Any of those different charges is simple. You've sworn yourself to do it. You don't owe anybody anything as it relates to sympathies. It's an easy task in this particular case. It's right or wrong. And there's no way to say that, hey, we've gotten to a date in our society and in our world that we can't appreciate the fact that our public officials put their lives on the line for us each day, and they're trying to do right. So it's not a case where they're abusing the badge and trying to go out there and prove a point, or to try to kill somebody or something like that because I'm trying to rob this dope boy. It's not that case. It's simple as ABC. I'm asking this man to do a task. I'm asking him to give me his hands so I can put the handbrace on, and he's not doing it. And I'm trying my best not to break an arm, break a leg. I'm doing everything I know how to do. And you ask me to be more responsible about somebody else's actions at that particular time and risk my own life is too much to ask. That's why I'm jealous. But you act this together, and I'm asking that you help us out on this case. That you, at the end of the day, make this an easy verdict and end this foolishness. Get back to where your lives are, but make us have to have what it takes to do the right thing in this case. Overcoming any sort of public sympathies and things like that is simple. Tadarius means not guilty. And in this case, it's not even a close not guilty. It's proven innocent. Thank y'all.
And that, peoples, is the image that I want to leave you on tonight with this live. The jury has spoken, and they said not guilty to these 3 defendants right here, peoples. But they were found guilty in the federal, but as far as the state, they said not guilty. Now, I don't necessarily have to agree with it, but I have to accept the verdict as to what the jury had stated. They said, not Edward Joseph, they said not guilty on all charges. Peoples, I hope I had said something to encourage your hearts upon tonight. Tune in again next time to Edward Joseph Let's Talk Live, Edward Joseph Kitchen, Edward Joseph Gospel Hour, Edward Joseph's Blessings Giveaway. 2025 will come to you with something wonderful. I love you with the love of Christ, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Peoples, mask up and be safe. And again, peoples, it wasn't my verdict, it was the state's verdict. The people that lives there. And they said that they were not guilty on all charges. God bless you all. Thank you for watching.